Welcome to the Boardroom Sessions Podcast. In these sessions, we meet the most amazing and interesting people. We learn about their passions, their business models, cool new technologies, and of course, their lessons on personal growth. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the 2023 goal planning session for the Boardroom Sessions Podcast that I normally do with my buddy Dave Rhoads. This year, Dave took the mic and interviewed yours truly. Hope you enjoy and hope you get inspired, and looking forward to hearing what you have going on for 2023.
Mike Miller, welcome to the Boardroom Sessions Podcast.
Thanks, Dave. I don't know that I've been on this side of the microphone before.
Yeah. How's it feel?
We'll see.
Yeah. So if you haven't figured it out by now, this is Dave Rhoads. I've been on the Boardroom Sessions Podcast. This will be my third time, but this time, instead of talking about boring old me, we're gonna get into a little Mikey Miller.
You were actually the first Boardroom Sessions podcast. I think it was you and I had a conversation. That was the very first one, and then we've done at least two year goal planning sessions, which we were planning on doing today.
Yeah.
But you've hijacked the microphone. So what do you want to do with
I've
the microphone
hijacked it.
today?
Yeah. I was the first one. I'm just low hanging fruit. I was easy pickings.
All right.
Well, I think it'd be a good idea to hit some 23 goals. But I want to get into the Mike Miller I know. You know, the Mike Miller that if I ever one day had to get up and speak about you, if you if you pass away, what I would say about you, I think is, a lot of people don't know this side, and I think a lot of people feel this side, but I think it's important to, share with the world everything you got, which is well beyond the, I'm successful, or I paddleboard a lot, or I surf a lot. It's like, those things are all well and good, but there's some really fundamental things I know about you that are amazing, that are bitching.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know how we would dive into all of that. Is that an invitation to, let's talk about 2022 goals first, right? And we'll weave there. We'll get into, Mike, but we started last year. If anybody's listening to the 2022 goal planning session, we recorded, I think, January 1st or the 31st of December last year, at Pacific City. We went through some things we were going to do. First of all, congratulations. Tell everybody what you did in early November that you said you were going to do at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah. We did the Catalina race.
We did the Catalina race.
Well, it wasn't even a race. It was a fundraiser for this. It ended up being a fundraiser for this amazing organization, Open Water.
Right.
But it really entailed you, me, and 40 or so other paddle boarders and prone paddlers and open water kayakers cruising across the channel to raise awareness for the mental health of not only veterans, but our first responders, police officers, firemen.
And we met some really cool people doing it. And that's kind of how this whole thing works out. I want to go back to when we first recorded that. We had loosely committed to a goal with no objective in sight, no like date or race or event. We said we were going to do a Catalina crossing.
Well, hold on, dude. I know as soon as I said Catalina crossing around you, that's not loose.
Right. Well, it was loose at the time. We did not know how it was going to happen. Yeah. And the way it happened throughout the year was we went on a couple of different journeys of how we were going to get there, what race we might do it, whether we were going to do it on our own, whether we were going to do it part of an organization. We met Danny individually.
We were going to buy a boat.
Right. I met Danny from three different people, three different directions. Right. Yeah. So that was destiny for us to meet and get connected with Open Water. The fact that we got connected with those guys and had it as such a cool event. Now we're a part of that group and we have a whole new set of friends and things. That's remarkable to me. Yeah. Right. And that's part of how the serendipitous relationships and connections and things happen in my life today.
Yeah.
And that's a prime example of how that happened. But we'd set it down with intention at the beginning of the year that we were going to do this one thing in our body category, right? Which was do a Catalina paddleboard crossing. And we did it. And we not only did it, but we met some really cool people and these things happened. So good job on that.
But I touched the boat twice.
You touched the boat twice. You still paddled plenty. You paddled 33 miles in 10 hours or something like that. That was quite an accomplishment, man.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you learn? And I feel like saying we paddled from Catalina is probably I think it's a cool achievement, but I think what we learned along the way, just kind of meeting Danny Nichols and his open water organization and all these first responders, I feel like that was the real win. At least it was for me for that.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, tell me about your experience and why was it important to you about it?
For one, I'm very in tune with the way we met Danny, right? I met him as a neighbor of yours. I met him as a friend of Tom Miller's. Yeah. I met him as a friend of Jay Larson's, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden here I am meeting this guy through all these different reasons. He's running this group. I felt like I should have known him before. Mm-hmm. That was very evident to me. There was something deeper here. First time we met, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so I knew something was special. I knew we were on the horizon for that. But then two, that crossing event that we actually did, the boat ride over with the guys, hanging out with the firefighters and the ex-team members and hearing their stories, and then hearing everybody's introductions the night before, all the firefighters who claimed to be there to help, right? Hey, we're here to help paddle across and make sure that this place is safe. But they're really there because they enjoy doing hard stuff. Yeah. They enjoy training for hard stuff. They enjoy taking a break from worrying about stress and things that they deal with in their encounters, right? So it was eye-opening on a lot of levels, and I'm glad to be a part of that. The other thing I'm never cease to be taught a lesson by is Mother Ocean, right? So you wake up in the morning at 5:30 and you think it's going to be a blissful, fun, high-fiving experience across the channel, and we got dosed a huge lesson out there a couple hours into that paddle of how fragile and small and tiny we are on this big giant planet.
The Mother Nature bitch slap.
That's right. Yeah, Mother Nature is no joke, and she can make your day or break your day instantly. And I never forget that lesson. Yeah. I always learn that out there in the channel, that I'm not in charge, that all the training in the world could be not enough on a certain day. But luckily we did that. So
kind of like life, right?
Yeah.
It's like you think you got it, and as soon as you think you got it, you're host.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was an accomplishment. We did some other things, right? I missed my financial goal that I stated. I had a number that I wanted to make. As far as contribution to the company and bottom line. And, I'm not wildly off, but fell short.
If you had to scale it on a 1 to 10 or, a A, B, C, or D, where would you put yourself?
Oh, I'd put myself at a B plus. I put a lot of work and effort in that are going to pay results that weren't for wasted, fret or not. Yeah. There weren't a whole lot of hard lessons learned. There's some consistency, right? That's there, that's going to maintain and manifest.
I always think, process over outcome, and put your self-esteem into the process, put your self-esteem into the activity and seed planting. And just what I've heard from you and our various, hanging out, surf sessions, whatever, is that there's a lot of seed planting for you this year. Well, I feel like if you had to give yourself a grade on process, on seed planting, what would you put yourself?
I'm an A. It's all about reps, it's all about putting in the reps. It's about planning. It's about doing the year goal planning, which we're doing now. But more importantly, I will run a weekly plan. On Sunday evenings, I write a plan for the week of what I'm going to do. Yeah. I put it into body, mind, and spirit categories, so I can know what my workouts are going to be, what I'm going to eat, what I'm not going to eat, and mind, what I'm going to do for work, what connections I'm going to follow up on, what things I need to accomplish, what high level deals that week.
Tell me about that kind of that weekly planning process and what that looks like. I know it involves usually a trip to the car wash on a Sunday, right?
Yes.
I mean, most people are kind of checked out. I know.
It's exactly that.
Let's
it starts with the year. First I have some high level goals and visions of what I want to accomplish, and I give myself about a year time frame to think about them, right? The big events like we put on the calendar for body, what have you.
So what would be a high level goal for 23 for you?
I would put a financial goal out there of what I want to earn and put to the bottom line, right? Mm-hmm. Of SidePath and Mike Inc. Yeah. I start there. I reach big. I go bigger than I have. The goal has to be big and scary. And I do not, this is important, backward engineer to how I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
I leave that open and I get into action now of things I know that can put me on track to make that number.
So
I do that
like what your buddy Bob Grew or our buddy Bob.
That's
Grew
it.
Says, right.
Begin with that. He has a hold the vision, drop the how.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so I'll have a yearly plan for a number. I'll have a yearly plan for things I want to do athletically. Right. Whether it be a crossing or many years I did a half Ironman. I'd put a half Ironman out on a goal or something like that. Adventure. I'm lucky. I have some of those already happening this year. Fine tuning some, but I'm going to have a surf trip accomplished this year. Some ski trips, some trips to Boulder and Eugene, to see the kids. So I've got plenty of adventure that I'm planning for and getting to. I put that all on my vision board and think about those things. But the magic really happens, Dave, in the weekly plan, right? Yeah. You and I come together on the month and we put some high level goals of what we want to cover in 30 days. Yeah. Those are really good. Quarterly routines that we have, like fasting, at the beginning of every quarter, those are kind of cool. But the ones that work the best for me, it's the week. And my routine is generally Sunday afternoon at the car wash. Yeah. Yes. And headphones in, headset, notebook open. I write 3 words: body, mind, and spirit. Right. And under each one of those areas, I plan my week out. What I'm going to do. So for body, I want to know how many yoga workouts I'm going to work. I look at my calendar. I try and figure out which days are going to work best, what sessions I'm going to go to. I look at the morning, same thing, where are my morning appointments? Am I going to go on a paddleboard that morning? Am I going to go trail run that morning? I look at the surf report to see if there's surf on the horizon. Yeah. I try and plan that week as well as I can to the goals that I want to achieve. Right.
So here's, somebody who's not as disciplined with you is thinking, or I know I would be thinking like, holy fuck, how does he find all the time to do that? But the reality of the situation is I find that
that's 15 minutes on a Sunday.
15 minutes on a Sunday.
That's 15 minutes on a Sunday at the car wash.
It's crazy.
What else would you be doing?
What else would you be doing?
And then Monday morning comes.
I always like to say, if you spend more time on your fantasy football league than planning out your life, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it takes me more than 15 minutes to plan my fantasy week, by the way. At any rate, it clears my mind for Monday. Monday morning.
Did you beat Will?
I did not beat my son. I lost the losers bracket. We were playing for third place to my son. Yeah.
All right.
So I didn't even make third place.
I'm sure he'll remind you for the next.
For sure. So at any rate, it makes my Monday morning. It makes my Monday morning better, Dave.
Yeah.
Because I get the bricks running on Monday. I know what my plan is. I'm not waffling in bed or the first alarm going, "Oh, what am I going to do this morning?" I know exactly what I'm going to do that morning.
The thought process is you get it down on Sunday, you put it away, you go to sleep Monday, and subconscious kicks in, and it's like that's where that's where the power lies.
It makes everything simpler.
Yeah, that's cool. But so for your annual goal setting process, right? For 23, what have you kind of done so far, or what are you planning on doing, and what does that look like? And kind of talk to me about your process with that.
So for sure, I bought a vision board. I bought an actual black framed poster board, a cork board, right? With some push pins on it. I'm going to print a bunch of pictures out. Okay. And they're going to represent key categories in my life of things that I want more of in my life.
Yeah.
Next year.
Right.
Some are goals. Some are just maintaining the continuum, right? So I am very good when I'm in consistent routine. I'm very good when I'm planning my weeks in advance. Yeah. Right. So I want to have words, those I consider values, that inspire me to continue doing what's worked for me. Right. Yeah. One of those things is consistency, putting in the reps. Right. Putting in the reps. So if I continue to maintain consistency on the many things I'm working on in my life, the vision workshop, Boardroom Sessions Podcast, OCTP networking group, the new marketing group I'm coming up with, right? If I consistently do these things and post my posts and work out, lift, weight 3 times a week, right? When stuff comes up that we need to go roll on, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm fit for the surf when we get a week of good surf during Christmas break and Thanksgiving break, right? I'm fit and ready because I had been lifting before, right?
Yeah.
When it's not good, I'm training to be good. Same thing with work, same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with everything else. If I stay consistent on those things, then I'm fit when it's time to go.
So if I don't have, I don't have to get ready if I stay ready.
That's exactly right.
I don't know who quoted that. But
so I put some of those words down on the vision board.
Yeah.
I put some pictures down on the vision board that represent the things that I want.
You put pictures and words?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Pictures and words and people that inspire me on to doing the things I want to do and push me to and have some big hairy goals on there of stuff I want in my life, more of, right?
So you went out and you bought, spent $32 on a cork board or whatever. I think you got me one too, right?
Yeah.
I gotta Venmo you back for that. And you get all this stuff down that really drives you: words, people, pictures, all these things that you want to manifest in your life. And so then you just hang it up and leave it there? Or
no.
What do you?
Good question. So it also.
Hold on. Let me. So I just want to play devil's advocate here. It's like vision board. It's kind of woo woo, hokey. What would you say to somebody who says that?
Great question. I get it all the time.
You do?
I do. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was that guy.
Yeah.
When Jeff Harden first introduced me to the concept of a vision board, I believe I laughed out loud. I believe it was a belly laughing, ha ha ha. What kind of hippie woo BS is this, right? I put a picture of something that I want in my life, and I go to bed and pray away, and it appears the next day. That's what I thought it meant. It doesn't mean anything like that. What it means is it puts the things in my life that I know that I actually want in my life. I want more of them. I want more campfires. I want more adventure. I want more time on my paddleboard. I want more time holding hands with my wife. I want more time with quality conversations with my friends around, adventure activity.
Yeah.
These kinds of things I know that I want. First, I had to go out and seek what it is that I really want in my life. So I know what I want more of.
Well,
okay.
You had to spend the hard time to ask yourself that question.
Absolutely. That's part of the process, right? Yeah. Then I'm putting intention. If you want to think nothing else of this, if you don't believe in any of the manifestation stuff, don't. Just put some intention. I want this in my life, and put it on a piece of paper, on a board.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're going to start driving more thought, more energy toward that thing, that stuff that you want in your life. So how it works for me is I need to take immediate action toward those things I want in my life. When I mean immediate action, I mean the same almost instant I'm putting it onto paper, I need to be doing something, one small tiny step in the right direction toward that thing or that goal that I want in my life.
Well, the science behind that is your reticular activation system, right? Or the RAS, and it's I'm sure most people have heard of it before, but very simply, if you go out and you go buy a blue Honda, the minute you get out on the road, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe all the people in the world that have blue Hondas.
Yes.
It's the same thing, right? So the vision board is kind of like buying that blue Honda car, except now you're looking at it.
It's keeping your intention on it. It's keeping your attention on it and your intention happening. And then there's subconscious stuff that goes on here. We don't even have to get into that. Let's just work with the intention point. So your question.
Let's get into that, because
your question first was, what do you say to the naysayers that say that this is a bunch of hooey, right?
I say,
I'm saying,
vision board,
I would ask that individual if they even have intention of what they want in their life. Chances are they probably don't. Chances are they wake up on Monday morning and they have no idea other than the work or the job that they have to report to because they need to pay their mortgage, and they've been told that that's what they need to do. That's what they think they're supposed to do today.
Yeah.
They don't have given any thought as to what they really want in their life or how they really want to be in their life.
Yeah.
So at any rate,
let's stay there, because this intention thing is a whole nother bucket, right? It's like, when you say somebody might not have intention, what do you mean by that? Or
when we get in the car to go to a destination, all right, we're going to go to Mount Baldy, okay? You plug in Mount Baldy into the map, okay, as an address.
We can go to Mammoth.
Okay. Let's go to Mammoth. We're going to Mammoth. We plug in Mammoth address into the map, okay?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're going to get a list of directions. You do not know how to need to know how to turn right, turn left, turn wherever. You just put in
we're going.
and the map is going to drive you in the right direction.
Right.
That's what happens when you put a picture on a board. You put a picture on a board.
Picture on the board is kind of like
the address.
It's kind of like installing AI software in your brain. Is that kind of like what it is?
That's the way it works for me. And so all of a sudden, that's the direction in life I start heading toward.
Yeah.
And the universe starts giving me map suggestions. Take a right here, take a left here, take a right here, take a left here. That's how I end up going toward these destinations.
Yeah.
My point to you in the greater analogy of the map is most people don't have an address mapped in.
Right.
They get up in the morning, they just start driving around.
Yeah.
They have no idea where it is they want to go in their life.
Yeah.
That's start there.
Or they jump on and get on their cell phone or email, and that
the Instagram feed curates their life. Oh, I think I need one of those. I think I need some more money so I can go on another trip. I think I should go take that class because those people look so happy in that class.
Yeah.
So let the feed you or curate your own feed. First of all, I'm on curating my own feed. I know what I like. I know what I want more of in my life. Once I do pick that, I can definitely go down rabbit holes on the internet and in social and feed my brain with more of that intention of what it is I want.
What do you do when you do get stuck in the rabbit hole? Because it's just the phones and the computers. Like I read this morning, the average American touches their phone 2,600 times, like 2,617 times a day. Right.
Well, you and I are not that guy. So you track your phone. Yeah, I actually see you write reports.
It's pretty, they're still pretty good at grabbing your attention. Right. It's just good. The technology's too good. It's designed to grab your attention, no mal intent on their part, but they're selling your attention to advertisers. So anyway, when you go down that rabbit hole, how do you pull yourself out, or how do you catch yourself?
There's a couple mechanisms I have in place. First and foremost, one, when I'm working, I'm trying to be as productive as possible with my time.
Yeah.
And the reality is that's where I'd like to spend the least amount of my time, right? If I had things to do in a category.
Sorry, what do you mean the least amount of your time?
I'd prefer to play more than I would work.
Right.
And so if I'm working while I'm there, I'm trying to be productive as possible while I'm working.
Yeah.
So while I'm working, I'm thinking of things like, am I here? Am I present? Am I doing as much as possible? Am I sidetracking myself with Instagram or what have you? And so I learn limits there. I learn time blocking there. I learn these techniques that keep me on track of doing things methodologically. That keep me going along. And with those in place at work, they bleed over into other places in my life, right? Yeah. I start to ask myself, well, hey, am I doing the same thing here? Am I wasting time here? Should I be doing something else? So the productivity gains carry over. But most of them are due to the fact that I don't want to spend my time there.
Yeah.
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 I want to read a book.
So tell me a little bit about, I think, this whole goals conversation is important, and goals, this, and this, but how do you think about goals in terms, I always kind of think of in terms of intrinsic versus extrinsic. I think, David Brooks in his book, Second Malcolm, talks about, eulogy goals versus resume goals.
Yes.
Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in mind, and his was the ultimate end in mind, the eulogy.
Yes.
Right. So have you thought about the intrinsic versus the, 6-pack selfie on Instagram, make a lot of money goals?
Yeah.
And I think it's good to have a balance of the two. But Phil Stutz, one of my favorite people to follow, he wrote a book, The Tools, has a new movie out on Netflix with Jonah Hill. But he kind of says they got to be at least 51-49. So he talks in terms of, the intrinsic, the stuff people say about you at your funeral, right? Versus the extrinsic, money, cars, whatever. They need to balance, except as long as the intrinsic's 51, at least 51.
Yeah, that's a deep conversation, right? Between intrinsic and extrinsic. For me, it's value-based. And you and I've had this conversation a million times, right? Mm. It's about who do I want to be? What kind of guy do I want to carry on to be, right? Yeah. Who do I want to bring to the world? Who do I want to hang out with? Who do I want to attract in my life, right? I want more of what I'm putting out. So if I'm putting this out, I'm going to get this back in my life. Who is it going to be? That's where it starts for me.
Yeah.
So I start there, and I have things that I need to do in order to stay that course. And those start me down a path of what do those guys do, right? What is a guy who has integrity? What is a guy who does what he says he's going to do? What is a guy who's a badass hard charger do, right?
Yeah.
What does a guy like that do or don't do at certain situations? And I have to identify that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to be that. And then I work hard at being that guy.
I like thinking in terms of what does the best version of me look like?
Yes.
Right. So, but back to intrinsic, and I think this is a very large part of what I know about Mike Miller and what drives you is you are very service oriented. You know, on your LinkedIn it says, "How can I help?" It's not bullshit. It's really, you know, there's a serious, like, that's how you live and how you think and how you wake up, right? And so tell me a little bit about some of the service or the giving or the contribution goals that you might have for next year or already have down.
That's a big topic with me, and maybe a bridge into how things changed for me, right? But the service attitude that I carry is in my spirit category. So I go body, mind, and spirit. I'll say those three categories often. Service is all about spirit. It's how do I feed my own, you know, God consciousness, my spirit, my why am I here, all of that kind of thing, is fairly new for me. It's happened in the last 10 years, right, of my life. But it's been the biggest single most profound change in my perspective ever in my life.
Yeah.
And I had an epiphany that it's not what this world has to give me, but what I have to bring and give to the world, right? Sounds altruistic and high level.
Was there like a magic epiphany moment, like you stubbed your toe on a rock or what?
Close.
Close.
I mean,
like,
yeah.
What was... Yeah, everybody wants like the big crash and burn or like some kind of event that just like, you know, just somebody wants to hear the crash and burn story, but that's not really the epiphany.
There wasn't a crash and burn story here.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was I had a full-blown, for many people have called it a full-blown midlife crisis, right? It was approaching me on all fronts in my life that this is not where I wanted to be at 47, 48 years old.
So you were going... I had a front row seat of this, so this is I can kind of talk with a little bit, and I know Mike before and I know Mike after, and at heart you're the same person, right? But very, very different way you showed up in the world. So, well, tell me a little bit more about that.
So everything's crashing in on me from several fronts in my life, right? Self-imposed. I felt out of shape. I felt less than financially articulate, right? I was in a career change. I just made a point to go work for a buddy of mine, Jim Andronico, who convinced me that I was something more than I thought I was at the time. So I had this kind of imposter syndrome, if you will, or over my skis, if you will, kind of feeling coming down on me work-wise. So I had fear, uncertainty, and doubt there.
Yeah.
I had aging parents, right, that were aging. I had, an issue with alcohol. I used alcohol a lot more than I probably should have, right? Yeah. And I came from a long line of people that have abused it, right? And so all of these things kind of hit me simultaneously at one point. And this is a little over 9 years ago. And I made a nuclear option change in my life. It at least felt that way at the time.
Yeah.
And that was to stop drinking. And I started with one thing right there. I said, if any one of these things is going to change, is there one big thing here that could take away most of it or make the biggest single contribution? Yeah. I'll tackle others later, but let's just go with the biggest one.
What's gonna help everything?
What could help all of it? And alcohol seemed to be that.
Yeah.
Right. And so there were a lot of challenges in stopping that. Right. One, can you, is it something that I'll be able to Two,
Well,
is it going to be? Is there a stigma? Is that people are going to come to me and say, "Hey, I noticed that you're not drinking. Did you kill a busload of nuns or something?" All of these kind of things come up. So yeah, there was a lot to work through with that, right?
Yeah.
But truth be told, I'm better for not drinking, right? And so I'm better able to get up in the morning. I'm better able to accomplish things that I want to accomplish, right? I started to get better shape. I started to get more healthy. I started to surf more. I started to paddleboard more. I started to work harder, right? I got some work successes right away, right after I made the change, which wasn't a lost on me that there's a correlation.
Probably a little bit better example for your kids too.
Probably a lot bit better example for my kids, right? And so, at any rate, things just started to happen and become better. But what ended up ultimately happening around this time with that big change in my life, right?
Yeah.
Is I started to get introduced to concepts and opportunities to help other people.
Right.
Not just work-wise, but on other fronts, right? Where I was able to give a guy a ride, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Help somebody in some capacity, go be of service at some soup kitchen or what have you, right?
Yeah.
Started to do certain things here that were prescribed to me by others to take some of the time that I use drinking, right?
Yeah.
In other facets for good. I didn't understand at the time, a busy guy, family guy, working guy, a guy who wants to go do more athletic stuff, has to go take time out of his day to go do these things, right? How that's going to help me.
Yeah.
But it helped me.
Yeah.
It helped me a lot. It broke down for me the barriers between what I thought people were and who they really are.
Yeah.
I had a complete perspective change on individuals. I had a complete and utter perspective change on what I do for work. So my work frame,
this service component, this, going to the soup kitchens, giving a guy a ride, these kind of things, you started to see the value of that in your work and how you can transition that.
100%. It came from a point where if I'm in fear, uncertainty, and lack, when I go and approach a client, is a very different scenario than if I'm coming to that client with I'm here to help.
Right.
I'm open book. I have a pen. I have a notebook. Right. I've got 30 years of experience in and out of certain situations. I might know something. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can't.
Yeah.
That's how it ended up becoming for me. And with that change, everything changed.
Right.
Everything changed. My network changed. The people I was attracted to at work changed. I've found successful people that were willing to help me. I found successful partners that were willing to help me. I had successful clients that were getting wins with our service together with my counsel. And I started to become internally motivated by helping other individuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it paid off. And it pays off and continues to pay dividends.
And I never want to lose sight of the fact that it didn't happen overnight. Right. This story and the way you're telling it, it's like almost like a snap, like it just, maybe the change happened overnight, but tell me a little bit about, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And still to this day,
it's a lot of work, and it starts with one or two things. And then you go to next Sunday and you're looking at your list and you're like, that worked, this didn't work. And then I go build another list. And then I go on a paddleboard with Dave and I have a conversation around, hey, we just read this in the tools book. Maybe that thing that keeps coming up in your life. I start growing and learning. And but yes, you're right. It took time. It took lots of time. And it took lots of discipline. Discipline reps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we can go on long journeys there, but it starts with planning your day, planning your week, doing what I say I'm going to do, right? Coming up short, not liking how it feels coming up short, going big, a training for a half Ironman, right, on the calendar is not fun. I'll be completely honest. I don't go skipping into a long bike ride workout, right? 40-mile workout on a bike during a halfway windy, rainy day.
Yeah.
It's not cool. For me anyway. Some guys probably like it. I don't like it. But guess what? I had an event on the calendar in September that kept me riding because I know what it would be like to fail in the middle of an Ironman, half Ironman. And, so it keeps me training.
I just thought of a question I thought would be pretty good. Where do you think you would be now if you didn't make that shift 9-10 years ago plus? Like what would you be doing?
I can't even imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine it would be a different outcome for sure.
Would you be alive?
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
It's an unhealthy choices lead to more unhealthy choices. Put yourself in circumstance, right? We had a pandemic recently, We did. We did. We had a pandemic, I could have been in a compromised state, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's I think it's important to point out, like, simply because I think it is, it's funny, the whole not drinking thing is a stigma in our society. And it's like, it's kind of crazy if you think about it, right? It's like, this clearly alcohol kills more people in the US than all the drugs combined, yet people think there's something wrong with you when you stop drinking.
I know.
And I don't know, man, it needs to get flipped on its head. It's like, there's something right about, what's come of this. I don't know. I know it's kind of a subject you like to stay away from, but
I do, because
it's good, and I've seen it from my own side, and it's had such a positive impact on my life watching you, that it's just too good to ignore it.
You also quit drinking and feel the benefits health wise.
I do that at some level. Everybody's, that may be drinking too much has stopped for a certain amount of time, and they're like, wow, I feel pretty good. Yeah. I sleep pretty good, and
it's definitely there. However, I don't societally, it's going to continue. I don't have a problem. I don't think it's there's times I miss it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. There's times I wish I could be that guy.
Yeah.
But it's black or white for me, right? Mm-hmm. It has to be black or white for me, because, I just operate better. You're the one who's coined the term 99% hard, right? But 100% easy. Black or white. I just don't. So I just don't. But for other people, it's their own deal. I miss it at times, honestly. Yeah. I wish I could be that guy that occasionally, could do that. But it's not the way it's going to work for me. I'm better off without it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I want to shift gears here a little bit, because I think this is a pretty cool part of something that I admire you a lot is your ability to connect.
I'm a super connector. That's one of my I am statements.
Well, you are, right, and it doesn't matter if it's business wise, if it's the grocery store clerk or somebody at Starbucks. It's like your ability to connect with people and really kind of just point your nose and really lock in with somebody and try to figure out them really quickly so you can kind of try to help them. It's just you have this natural curiosity virtue. It's built. It's the guys that we've hung out with the longest time, I think one guy called you a Garibaldi. Right? It's like Garibaldi, if you're diving down under the water, they're not afraid. They're super curious. They get their nose in, and I think that has a lot to do with, this super connector skill set. Somebody who's not a super connector, how do you think you could help them? Or what do you think, tell me a little bit about how you think about that process and how you're more intentional about being a super connector.
Thanks for the compliment, Dave. First, and second, be curious. The answer to your question would be, how can people be better connectors? It's to be curious and learn about other people.
Yeah.
So I think back all the way when I was very young, my first job ever was a bellman at a hotel. What do you do as a bellman? You introduce yourself, you get a chance to ask questions, find out what people are doing, give some direction, right? So I was, I guess, formally trained as a youth, how to be curious about people and find out what was going on for them. Which kind of matched something that's very core to you. It's like you're already probably curious going in. You're like, oh shit, I actually get paid to do this, or I could make a better tip if I really get curious about something that I want to find out about anyway. Yes, you learn that. For me, I was coin operated, so I learned that if I were more curious and found out if that was a couple on a vacation, that there might be 2 or 3 things I might be able to suggest or recommend that would lead to more tips.
Yeah,
and then I would lead to more, referral fees from the boat outing or whatever that they went on. And I learned that there were lots of different revenue streams to be more curious. So I learned in life early that there was a reward for that. And I also learned throughout life, the more people I knew, I believe wholly in the adage of it's not as much as what I know, it's way more about who I know. Right?
Yeah.
Way more about who I know. And that's just life. If I don't know the content, man, we all have a magic piece of crystal in our pocket. We can figure it out. We can look it up. I can go to somebody and seek some knowledge, but I got to know people. Yeah. And the more I know about people, the more people give me direction too. Yeah. That's the thing that I find in life. I learn from people. I learn from their journeys, their stories, their adventures. They point me on to books and things of that nature. So it feeds my curiosity to learn more and more about other people. Yeah. But there's some magic that happens in it, Dave. So back to the vision board, right? Yeah. I literally believe I manifest people in my life. Right. Like Danny Nichols, right? Like, I Laird Hamilton on my vision board. Right. Okay. I have a dream team of individuals on my vision board. I mean, there's 2 or 3 different individuals on there that I look at regularly and think about them, of what they would do in certain situations. Jocko Willnick, that guy equals discipline to me. Yeah. So if I don't feel like working out, I look at Jocko and Jocko would go. He's going to work out, right? I have Laird Hamilton on there for many, many reasons. He's a pioneer, an inventor, hard charger, right? Yeah. And I met Laird Hamilton, right? Of all the people in the world that I could have come to a conference and spoke at a conference, right? Yeah. Could have been anybody selling any book anywhere, but no, it was Laird Hamilton, right? So in my backyard at a hotel right here in town, right? It all worked out. Yeah. So coincidence, maybe not, right? But I believe that I attract certain people in my life if I'm along those lines, thinking along the connector, curious.
Yeah. One of the things I wrote down when I was thinking about what I was going to ask you about is actually the first thing I wrote down is I wrote down positive gossip.
Positive gossip.
Well, about your reverence for just about every person that you talk about is amazing to me. And it doesn't matter if it's Laird Hamilton or one of your buddies from high school or whatever. It's just you hold this certain reverence about really everybody, and I really admire that about you, in a sense that it's like you're seeing the best in people a lot, and I know you're not perfect and there's people you don't like and that you might not get along with and whatnot. But as a general rule of thumb, I always hear you saying positive things about people. So that's what I say about positive gossip, and that kind of goes that ripples. But is there something in your past or why you do that, or do you not even know that you do that?
I don't know that I did that.
Even when I hear you talk about coworkers or customers or family, it's always with a certain level of reverence and respect, and I think that's really cool.
Maybe I'm trying to think of the good things. It wasn't always like that. Yeah. I've made some apologies in my adult life here after this midlife crisis, if you will. I've gone back to some people that I wasn't so nice to in the past. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I gossiped. I deeply regret some of the things I said about other people. Character assassination's a better term. Yeah. Yeah. So I wasn't always this guy. But now I'm looking for. I'm attracting people in my life. I'm hanging out with people in my life that I like a lot more. Yeah. Right. That don't lose sight of that. 2, by attracting these people in my life, I'm excited by what they're doing. They're inspiring me. Right. So I might be carrying some of that inspiration for what I have in other people. Yeah. I can't say enough. The quality of people, you included, in my life today is far better than it's ever been in my entire life. Right. And I've also found that these quality individuals are giving it away. They're giving away anything they have, anything that they come in contact with. They're giving the knowledge away, the suggestion away, a phone number, a call this guy, anything you want. Yeah. I love that. That's telling me that that's the kind of people I want to be around.
Right. I love it. Yeah. I want to come back to this vision board thing. right? Because I think that kind of plays into the service, the help, the positive gossip. There's all these amazing things about you. And then just that if I was to go out and do a vision board today, I go out, I get all these cool pictures on it, all the stuff I love. I've done it, but then you have some kind of a process that you follow.
For one, it doesn't matter. Just go do it. I would say don't get hung up on the details here.
As I say, go do an experiment.
Yeah, just try it. It's an art project, right?
Go out and mess it up.
It's an art project. Just put some stuff down. Methodology that I go by, and a bunch of my friends have been doing this for years and years together. We typically have a couple categories that we put some thought into: family and relationships, wealth and abundance, right? Physical fitness and body, right? Adventure. These are things that typically come up in themes. They put some pictures that represent some things they want to do in their life. One guy wanted to write a book. He put a picture of a book. One guy wanted to buy, have a rental property that year. He put a picture of a house and a for rent sign out in front of it. Oh wait, that was me. Those kinds of things. People put on holding hands with the relationship that represents their wife and them together in a better relationship, which could cascade into things that are more meaningful to you that you want to just be more like. So just put those pictures down. Put them down. Put some stuff down. But be careful. They're going to come true. And if you want a vision board story, I'll give you just one. I'll give you one real quick one. All right. So I put down on a vision board. I met a guy surfing probably 2020 out in the water. Met him one time, Huntington local, and he and I had talked about Costa Rica when we were surfing. And he told me the spot in Costa Rica. He told me this hotel in Costa Rica. He said, you got to look at these properties out there. This is the place to go. It was called Avianas. That night, I went onto the internet. I pulled up some pictures around Avianas. There's a JW Marriott there and a timeshare deal there. I put
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Yeah. So I put a picture on my vision board with many other pictures of tropical locations.
You're just looking for cool pictures.
Cool pictures to have a place, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, there's surf here.
JW Marriott, Avianas.
I was thinking, I want a house somewhere in a surfing region, tropical. Right. And I have these deck pictures of all these places that I want to go. Yeah. Right. That year I won a trip. The trip was originally to go to the Caribbean. Okay. So COVID happened. Caribbean fell out. They picked a more COVID friendly destination. They picked Costa Rica. I got a phone call from Jim who said, hey, destination's been changed. We're going to Costa Rica. I said, stop. I know where. Yeah. And he said, where? What do you mean? How do you know? I'm telling you right now for the first time. I said, we're going to do it at the JW Marriott in Guanacaste. Yeah. And Jim said, how did you know? And I said, because it's on my vision board. It's exactly where we're going to go. And where did we go? JW Marriott, Avianas. That's where the trip was. I don't think that's a coincidence. That stuff happens in my life on a regular basis.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I want to talk about, we got some time still? Yeah. I want to talk about, because it seems like, when you made this big shift in your life back in the day, Jim Andronico, right, who I've heard you speak reverence, positive gossip of, this is a very important person in your life. Can you tell me a little bit about the impact that he had?
Yeah, and continues to have every day.
Continues to have. I think, because it's, and this is for, whether you're looking for a mentor or you're, most likely somebody listening to this podcast is in a position to kind of help somebody else similarly. So yeah, help me understand that, or talk about that a little bit.
For one, Jim is a mentor disguised as a buddy, right? So he's the guy who everybody thinks is his best friend. Yeah. Every gal and person in the world that's ever met Jim believes that they are truly like one of his closest friends. Right. Right? Because he treats everybody that way. Yeah. But for myself and my relationship with Jim, we worked together for many, many years at Pacific Bell, SBC, AT&T now. Yeah. And I had no idea during that whole time that the depth that the relationship would be that it is today. Yeah. Right. And so Jim saw something essentially in me that I did not see in myself. Right. He saw potential and opportunity in a work world, in an environment I didn't think was for me. He did. He sold me on the idea. And he's been, I've been the idiot savant follower ever since. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
He provided a couple of things to me early.
Earlier you said, well, Mike Inc. and SidePath and the
autonomy. Jim allowed. So
you is they're the same damn thing.
So let's talk a little bit about the mentality, the opportunity, the driver of SidePath, right?
Yeah.
So Jim convinced me 10 years ago to take a direction change in my professional career and come be an individual contributor, a consultant at his company, at SidePath, right? Which for all accounts and purposes looked like a career back step, 4 steps, right? On paper.
Yeah.
Which also looked like
you were kind of at the big core working, as a
sales leader,
as a manager,
right? Director.
Yeah. Very handcuffed.
Yep. Part of the corporate machine, responsible for hiring and firing, building, training sales teams.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Jim came to me and said, "Hey man, you should come work for me, right? I'm going to give you all the autonomy you need in the world," which is the big thing you're talking about here. The ability to go be Mike Incorporated, do what you need to do. Just don't tarnish the brand by doing anything, unscrupulous or dumb.
Stay within the values of the company.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we'll give you all the autonomy you need to go be successful. Right. And so I had no idea at the time other than, the promise of that, how that would manifest. And it actually happened exactly and still continues 10 years later to this day to manifest in almost complete autonomy to do whatever I can do there to help contribute.
Yeah.
And we are never ceasing unique new ways to find revenue to come into the front door.
Right.
It's incredible. And help my clients, helping my clients. Yes.
Yeah.
My clients need the help. We're busy helping. We're getting creative and new ways to do it. There's no autocratic top down. This is the way it has to be. It's completely show me, a better way.
Yeah.
Let's go get it.
Checking all the boxes. It's checking your curiosity box.
Yes.
Right. Because you got to constantly be curious, looking out around corners to figure out ways to help. Checks your help virtue box.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's a no miss all the way. And so what it sounds like, here's a guy who, when you were not at your best, right, he knew what your best was. He wasn't saying, hey, I want him to come here and be a different person. He knew, hey, I know what Mike's capable. I know what Mike, and there's, I don't want to say a self-serving component for him, but he's like, hey, I know this guy can contribute. He can help grow our business and this business sector. And
I know this because I've asked Jim. Yeah. We have a conversation around this almost once a year, every year. And he's told me in the past that he knew that I would go bigger than any number he gave me for a quota. He knew that I would, if you removed the obstacles from me, that I could create and do things that were far beyond surprising to me.
Yeah.
He knew that. And so he saw something in me I didn't see it myself at the time. Right. Yeah. And with those little victories, they started, opportunity by opportunity, partner by partner. You win one, you get some momentum, you learn some things, you get some momentum, you pick up another client, you pick up another partner, whatever that is. The momentum, the snowball starts to lead, success starts to happen. Jim was right there too. He was patting me on the back, telling me great job, putting me up in, on panels in front of people to speak, at events and congratulating me and sending me on trips, and award trips and things like that, and making me feel better about it, providing resources at work, like people and effort and things to help out, giving me counsel. He's consistently been there and been that guy for me. So reverence for Jim. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Because the reason why I asked is you brought it up over the course of this conversation at least 3-4 times. So it's crazy not to highlight the exemplary leadership on Jim's part, but also the payoff that Jim gets, as a result of, and the true payoff to him is you kicking ass, in all parts of your life. And the financial spoke might be one of them, but it's probably one of the least on his radar, is my guess.
It is. And, I'm one of 50 or so employees in the company. So he's got a whole company of people like me that all think that they're empowered and individually satisfied and doing things that they want to do in their life. And that's why we're cranking. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they are.
Yeah.
They are empowered.
That's why we're cranking. And it's good to meet your values, get to meet, your career, and you get to get success and wins during your career. But that's a big part of what's changed for me in the past 10 years. Has been the service-oriented mentality comes back, the super connector ability of connecting people, the networking groups, the OCTP, the marketing group. These things have been very fortunate for me to find and know that these are part of my character traits that are natural and feel good to do. And then when I do them with work, they get this exponential growth, right? Yeah. It's, you're trying to train, we're hearing some noise in the background. Dave's at his office, his company right now. You preach to your guys on a regular basis. It's about their network. It's about their network and the people that they know.
Well, I always preach relationships, but most of all, what I try to install is Mike Miller 101 is anytime they pick up the phone or any interaction or anything, you put on the, how I can help. How can I help? Because as soon as you put that helmet on before you go into the game versus the what can I get helmet, it just totally changes the game.
Changes all the energy, changes everything.
Everything. Which, and it's so simple. I think people kind of ignore it almost.
But don't you want to help? Doesn't everybody like helping?
Everybody.
Everybody likes
helping. We're
helping.
Designed as humans. We've survived as a species because we've helped each other.
I think we do. And I also think it gives a really good out with a client, right? If they're busy doing something or they have 3 things on their agenda right now, and this isn't a thing that I can actually help them with right now, I don't need your help. Yeah. Right. It's a lot different than I don't need you around.
I think what's more freeing sometimes is walking into a situation and going, how can I help? And you're like, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And being able to walk away and say, hey, I can't help.
Yeah.
I can't help. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And it just is an easy release too on both sides. It's
so easy.
But it's changed everything. It's changed everything for me. It's changed everything in relationships. It's changed everything work-wise.
Yeah. So I think we should start winding this down, but I'm gonna ask my favorite question is knowing what you now know, what would you have done differently 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago? What would you have done differently? What would you have changed? And how's that fit into your 23 plan, and how are you going to double down on it more?
I would have been more curious. If I go tell myself something 10 years ago or 10 years before that, I would have been more curious about what it is I actually wanted in my life.
Right.
I was fed God bless my parents, right? I was fed their company line, right? Go to college, get a good company job, work your way up that company, get a wife and a mortgage and a house, right? Put your kids through college. That was the goal. That was everything that I was sold on as a bag of goods and 20 years ago, if I would have found out or thought that through differently, maybe things would have been different. So that's one thing. But how does that play into my life today? I curate my feed. I do what I want to do. I do the things that put me in the best light to help do more of what I want to do. Right?
Yeah.
I stay fit for service. I stay fit for when the surf's are calling. I stay fit for when the snow's on the mountains. Because I'm curious to find out ways in which I can make myself better in those areas. Right? So I stay curious.
I love that. I like Richard Rohr's book, Falling Upward, where he talks about, he calls it the box, the car, the house, the kids, and the first half of your life kind of spent like creating that box, which you kind of need. And then the second half of your life is created filling that box back up. And clearly that's what you've been doing here for a number of years now. And that's
exactly what I've been doing, I guess.
You kind of need that box. You need that structure in order to go do the second half life work, so to speak. Right. So
yeah,
it's a cool book, Falling Upward. I think, it falls in the genre of another book called Second Mountain by David Brooks, but they're good reads.
You've explained that one to me multiple times, and I get the concept. I don't like to think of myself on my second half, but I guess I am for sure, mathematically on my second half. Doesn't feel like it. I'm fitter than I've ever been, more active than I've ever been. I feel more satisfied and happy than I've ever been, right? I'm also extremely busy, which is part of it. And I'm good with all of it. Yeah.
One of the ways a guy he runs a company called Modern Elder Academy. He used to run the Joinville hotels. This guy Chip Conley, Chip Conley. But he talks about there, and in it they talk about kind of our adult lives. Call it anywhere between 20 to 80. 20 to 90. If we're really lucky, 20 to 100. And so he takes that 80 years. And so if you take that 80 years and out of that 80 years, you've gone through 40 of them, not even 40 of them, 38, 37. It's like you're not even really a second half right now. Yeah. It's kind of the way he looks at it. But everybody's like, I feel like this whole retirement thing, this whole I'm getting older thing, it's a bunch of shit we've been fed. Yes. And the reality of the situation is, you're just getting going.
Yes.
And I don't know. I really kind of hold that to heart. And I feel like with that mindset.
Well, nothing's a guarantee, first and foremost. We can sit here and spin out about what the second half of life's going to look like. We don't know tomorrow, right? Man, no. So one, how do I want to be today? I want to be fit. I want to be ready, right? Two, how do I want to be tomorrow? If I'm going to plan for tomorrow, I want to be active. I want to be mobile. Right. I want to be fit. Mm-hmm. Right. I want to surf with my great grandkids.
Right.
Right. I want to do these things that I need to be fit for. Right. Yeah. So that'll keep me busy today.
Keep you busy today, and it's just getting going. Yeah. Really just getting going. The Japanese in the blue zone of Okinawa. You have the 85-year-olds pointing at the 104-year-olds going, those people are old geezers.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's all relative. It's all relative. Yeah. But I want to be Jack LaLanne. Ish.
So if you is there one thing you want to share with everybody for 23 that you're going to do that we check back in next year?
I'm going to take a surf trip. I'm going somewhere tropical, August, September timeframe. It's kind of loose right now at the moment, but I'm going to tighten that up as to a trip, a destination. It's going to involve boats. It's going to involve surf trunks and warm water, and maybe even that once in a lifetime left barrel wave photo that it's going to go center point on my wall.
I might have to draft that goal.
Yeah, that's a good one. Last time you and I set a goal to go on a trip, we went to El Salvador. Remember that?
It was awesome. It was a great trip.
Boats, surf trunks, warm water.
Surf lineup. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Met a guy from Israel, met a guy from Colombia, met a bunch of locals, met some Brazilians, met some Californians.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was spectacular.
Awesome.
Well, Mike, I enjoyed interviewing. I hope your audience enjoyed hearing more about you. I feel like, maybe I didn't get to it all, but hopefully shine a little bit more of a light on, the things that I see and know about you. And hopefully everybody's learned a thing or two. I know I have.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Funny to be on this side of the microphone, but I enjoyed it. Everybody get after 2023, right? It's there in the makings. If you don't curate your feed, somebody else will.
LFG 2023.
There you go.
All right.
Later. Hey, Mike here. Hope you liked this boardroom session. Please check back to your future sessions as we're recording a new one every month. If you want to reach out, look for me on LinkedIn or send me a note at mike@sidepath.com. That's Mike at sidepath.com.